Expert Data Systems is an Oracle Gold partner in Lebanon who specializes in services around Oracle databases such as installation, migration, tuning, high availability solutions, real application clusters, incident response, and backup and recovery. Expert Data Systems managed the second largest database in Germany for 2 years remotely from Lebanon. Our team has worked with all Oracle releases in the last 10 years. Oracle 8i, 9i, 10G and 11G. Today, we are introducing a hands-on workshop on how to perform backup and, even more important, recovery for Oracle databases. In many discussions with clients, we found that backup and recovery practice is often of very low priority or neglected. When database loss or crash occurs, anyone who is responsible for database-based applications finds himself all of a sudden in a very stressful situation where a wrong decision could maybe cause even greater damage. This workshop provides hands-on preparation for different recovery scenarios in a safe sandbox environment. We believe that practicing recovery with systematic plan prepares the participants for disaster scenarios and enables them to act swiftly and professionally with less stress. My name is Manuela Atoui. I'm a certified senior Oracle DBA with close to 1 decade experience with some of the largest databases in Germany. I'll show you the Swiss Army knife for Oracle database backup and recovery, RMAN. Symantec conducted a study in 2012 and found that only 34% of small and medium businesses in the Middle East are backing up their data on a daily basis. 74% of them back up their data incorrectly onto CDs, DVDs and external hard drives. This means backups exist, but in case of data loss, the data can't be recovered from the backup. Nearly 2/3 of the respondents had doubts about the reliability of their current IT backup and recovery procedures. In 2012, the independent Oracle user group asked 358 data managers about database availability. They found that only 65% of enterprises with less than 1,000 employees are backing up their databases. Downtime is adding up to not just hours, but days per year for many organizations. Planned and unplanned downtime lasted up to 3 days in the last year. On average, 1 day downtime costs an enterprise $12,000. Furthermore, customer satisfaction diminishes. Outages causes customer to leave. The cost of not being prepared is high, putting small and medium enterprises at risk of going out of business. After a disaster hits is the worst time to learn that critical files were not backed up as planned. Regular disaster recovery testing is invaluable. Think of it like regular training for firefighters. Nowadays, often the database administrator also works as a system or network administrator, and the developer also works as a database administrator. A hands-on workshop helps to get familiar with the backup and recovery concept. Let's view a day in the life of a database. Normally, an Oracle database is in the so-called no archive log mode. This means you have to close the database, perform the backup, and after you perform the backup, open the database again for users. Here in that slide, the database was closed for backup at 8 in the morning. The backup took 2 hours. During that period, the database was unavailable for the end users. The backup was finished at 10, the database was opened and users happily entered new data. At 12, we lost the hard disk drive which contained all Oracle database files. As a consequence, we lost the complete database. We only have the backup taken at 8 a.m. This backup was restored and recovered. The database was opened at 2 p.m. This scenario has severe limitations because at 2 p.m. when the database was opened, we have the data status from 8 a.m. in the morning when we closed the backup for the database. This scenario is suitable for businesses where you have data entries few hours a day and, for example, during the night no data is entered, so you can close the database during the night and perform the backup. It is not suitable For businesses where the database must be available around the clock, for example banks, hospitals, or multinational enterprises which operate in different time zones. For those kind of enterprises, you have to switch the Oracle database in the so-called archive log mode. You only have to do this once. Now, let's switch the database into archive log mode. Remember, we only have to do this once. We create a new folder for the archived video log files. Then, we have to enter 3 SQL statements to change the database into archive log mode. Every database has a log file, the so-called alert log file. This file records the 3 SQL statement we just entered. Think of it like a flight recorder. Here you see RMAN, Oracle's Swiss Army knife for database backup and recovery, in action. We ask RMAN to show us its current configuration. There is one value we have to change. Control file backup off. This must read control file backup on. Control files are fairly small files that contain a directory of the other file Oracle needs. Without control files, Oracle can't start the database. Now we change the value and check the new configuration. Our database test user is called HR. He creates a new table called HR test with 107 entries. Then we start a complete database backup. We wait until the backup is completed and verify that our backup contains no errors. Our test user, HR, creates a second table called world and inserts 1 row. Next, we make sure that we don't lose any data. Remember, database changes are recorded in the so-called archived video log files. The information about the freshly created table world is in the latest archived video log file. We instruct RMAN to back up the archived video logs. Next, we have a hard disk failure. All our database files are gone. We simulate this by renaming the database file folder XE to XE archive log failure. Then we create a new empty folder called XE for the database restore. Our test user HR tries to continue his work but is only greeted with error messages. The database is indeed down. Now we have to perform database restore and recovery. In the first step, we stop all Oracle programs which try to access the lost database. Then we start the Oracle programs in a special mode used for disaster recovery. First of all, we have to restore the control file. Remember, control files are fairly small files that contain a directory of the other file Oracle needs. Without control files, Oracle doesn't know anything about the other files that make up the database. Here you see a summary. We started the database for disaster recovery, then we restored the control file from the backup, and now we are ready to restore all the other Oracle database files. We instruct RMAN to restore the rest of the database. RMAN finished the restore. Now we bring the database to a consistent state, the so-called database recovery. Now it's time to open the database. Business continues. Our unhappy test user HR wants to make sure he lost no data. Remember, he created 2 tables, table HR test and table world. His last action before the database loss was a new data entry in table world. Here he verifies we had no data loss. All that is left to now is to perform a new backup with RMAN.